Hello and welcome in, everyone. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist. Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Game Plan Podcast. We are continuing on with our week-long intro series here to introduce some of my new co-hosts and new team members. We will be doing this all week long, one per day for each one of the co-hosts. There are 7 with me. We will be kicking off our first live show is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, September 6th, the night before the Thursday night kickoff. I think we're looking to go around 8 p.m. Eastern, so tune in for that. I'm not sure which of us will be on the show, but we will be there, and it will be a week 1 preview. For now, we will be doing the intro episode, like I said, and here to tell us all about himself is new co-host Tanner Ward. Tanner, man, thanks for coming on. Glad to have you on the team.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Get a lot of in-season content going. I'm really excited. I'm going to try and be on that show on Wednesday night. That'll be my last draft. So if I am on the show, I will be also doing a draft. So it'll be a little bit of chaos.
So much better.
It's
I
going to be
love
fun.
when I'm on the clock in a show, though. That's fucking great. I love it.
So that is the plan right now. As long as I don't get held up at work, that is the plan. Definitely looking forward to it.
So I had one point when I was back in June, July, whatever the hell we did Scott Fish Bowl. It was literally the second or third day of Scott Fish Bowl. And it was my days off. So I did like 15 of my short 20-minute episodes in one day. And I just waited and waited. I did 15 shows or 16 shows that day for a total of 8 hours. I never once managed to be on the clock in Scott Fish Bowl during my show. I would make a pick right before the show, or the show would end, and then it would go bing, 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 my pick. And I'm going, you sons of bitches. So I'm not going to lie. As I sit here, I've had a few times where I listen, you have a voice for radio. I may just sit there and download my podcast. I don't listen to my own show. I don't watch my own show. I fucking can't stand it. I can't. My kid will have it on on YouTube in the TV in the front room, and I'm going, turn this shit off. I don't want to watch myself. I know what I said. I don't want to hear my voice. I don't want to see my ugly face. Turn it off. But I may download this at work and listen to my own podcast just for that soothing tone of your voice. You've got a real radio voice, let me tell you.
Yeah. Always been told I have a great face for radio as well.
No,
that's always the go-to joke.
I have the face for radio.
No, but that's actually kind of what got me started on the mic. So I have a background in journalism. I have a degree in multimedia journalism. So I kind of got a little we would kind of play around in a podcast studio in college. But then I had the opportunity to do some radio for just some local high schools when I lived in Missouri. So I did some play-by-play football, basketball, and it was so much fun. And that's when I realized how much I love talking on a microphone and how much I love talking about fantasy football. So it just kind of goes hand in hand for me to to just, keep pursuing that and keep taking these opportunities like being on this show. So yeah, if I can spread the voice around, I'm going to.
I can absolutely see you as a high school football play-by-play guy, or doing one of those movie intros where it's coming this July. Totally, that's you right there. I'm gonna have you do all our voiceover work, as I've just decided that. Me and SC were talking in the last podcast. I'm going, we got to come up with an intro and a theme in this. We have our voiceover guy. So mailbag, sits and starts. Yeah, see, it sounds like shit when I do it, but when you say it, it works. So
if I'm live on the show when the soundbite drops, I will not be able to stop laughing then.
I know, it's the best. I had one where literally someone had told me the key to it, once you're about 5-10 minutes into your video, record a quick little 15 to 30-second clip of, why they should subscribe, and don't forget to like and subscribe and blah, blah, blah. So one day I went home, I recorded like a 30 seconds of, hey, this is Aaron. Don't forget to like and subscribe and blah, blah, blah. And thank you for your support, blah, 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 blah. So I played it probably 2 or 3 podcasts at the halfway point, and literally you would come back for it would turn off the screen and you would just see that, and it would come back and it would just be me with my head down, dying fucking laughing. I stopped it after 2 episodes. I could not watch it. I was just killing myself. And the guest would be like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? But I couldn't do it. I'm like, I can't watch this shit.
Well, what's funny is I used to actually hate the sound of my own voice on recordings. I couldn't stand it. And I don't know if it's just I've heard it enough now or what, but I actually I like listening back to my other podcasts and listen to show, mostly just see if I said someone's name wrong or kind of slipped up somewhere and didn't even realize it. but now I don't mind my voice. So,
Oh,
it's not too bad.
I hated it. I always had the high pitched voice all my life and hated it. But I had one girl that I dated when I started my podcast, and she messaged me the one night and said, "Oh, I like to watch your podcast. When you're out of town or I haven't seen you, I like to hear your voice relaxes me and soothes me." And I immediately messaged back and said, "You need to seek psychiatric help. If my voice is soothing to you, there's something wrong with you." Like, I don't know. I don't even know how to reply to that. You're clearly a deranged individual. So. All right. Well, I guess we should probably get into some questions. So let's start off with, how did you get your start in fantasy football and the fantasy football industry?
Yeah, so for fantasy football, me and the high school buddies got together, created a league. I am actually driving back about 8.5 hours to my hometown tomorrow. I'm not sure when this airs, but tomorrow I'm making the long trip back for year 14. We've always done a live in-person draft. I make a giant draft board. We've made a lot of golf outings out of it as well. So that's just one of my most favorite traditions. But that was the league that really got it started for us. I still remember my first 3 picks in that league. I went Andre Johnson, Greg Jennings, and Aaron Rodgers. That was the year the Packers won the Super Bowl.
You need to
So
live stream that draft with you announcing it. It would be hilarious. I had this little bit that I wanted to do, kind of a funny little skit thing where it was 5 minutes. And all I did was I created custom characters of like industry analysts that had been on my show, but I created them on WWE and
oh
kind of
yeah.
did a celebrity death match. But it was so
Yeah.
hard because I didn't want to announce it myself. I should have had you announce it. You would have been my Jim Ross. You would have been spectacular. It would have been fucking awesome.
I don't think I could ever match the intensity of Jim Ross.
You can say, "By God, he's broken in half for me." All right, sorry, go ahead, get back
No,
to it.
you're good. So back, it was about 2018, I decided I really wanted to, as much as I just had so many of my friends texting me for fantasy advice, and I'm like, I'm just going to try this on my own, which was a terrible idea. I tried to do it myself. I started a little operation called Heartland Fantasy Football because I lived in the Heartland. I thought it was kind of cool and catchy, and it was just way too much work to do all by myself because not only was I working a full-time job, but I had the radio gig from August through March, and I was coaching basketball March through August. So literally all year round, I had a second sporting activity to try and run this with as well. I finally just kind of gave that up. And then as we moved where I live now up here in Green Bay, and it's just like, all right, well, I got to give this another shot. Like, I got to get back into this. Me and a buddy had started the ADP as just kind of a off-season show 2 off seasons ago. And then we started talking this year, and it's like, man, we really want to get this going and give it a shot. And so between that hitting that hard and then getting started with the league winners, which has been really tough this summer to get a lot of content out because it has just been maybe the busiest summer of my life.
Oh,
But
it's heated up a bit now. I took over as the redraft director of content, and all
yeah,
summer I'm sitting there, I'm typing up articles myself because I can't get anyone to write them, and I'm going, shit, this is boring. Let me tell you, the last since August hit, the last 2-3 weeks, holy shit. I went from where I had to edit 1 article every month to where I'm editing
yeah,
like 4 a day, and then I'm trying to kick the graphics out. It's not just casual drafters who don't
yeah.
come back till August. There's a lot of redraft writers who don't come back till August. So
Well,
all of
I
a
have
sudden we have
a
staff.
yeah, I have an article about that I'm done with. I just got to make my last tweaks to it, where I'm basically looking at the highest drafted players on the lowest scoring offenses. So I got 9 names I went over there. I just got to finish writing up, get
Since
my last paragraph on McLaurin and Dotson, and then
since
that
I'm
one's
in
heading over.
since inevitably I'm going to be the one who edits it and makes the graphic, do you have a particular player you'd like for me to put on the graphic when I publish it?
No, there's 9 names on there. I think you can just grab any of them. I make the case for some and against about the other half.
You
So
never leave it up to me because I'm lazy and I will literally pick the first name I see. So it will be
that's
like there
I
was
think that would be a good one. I think the first one's James Conner.
Oh, well, see, there was one article yesterday, and I think it started with Sam Howell, but then it was like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Patrick Mahomes. And the guys messaged me and said there were 12 names on that list, and Sam Howell was the one you picked. I'm like, Sam Howell was the first one up. That's who I went with. So, oh,
Oh,
Tanner, did you
I'll
freeze
be
on
back.
me?
I'll
Oh,
be
there you
back.
go.
I always come back.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
About once an episode of the ADP, I just disappear, but I always make my way back.
Yeah. So, all right. I guess you kind of answered this question, but I'll give you a chance again just to plug everything. What are you doing from, everything from writing to podcasting? What are you doing? Where are you doing? Like, where are you doing it? And what are you doing? Just plug everything you're doing all over.
Yep. So League Winners, first of all, definitely check that out. It's not just me. I haven't put a ton out there this off season, so definitely check out all the great work at the League Winners. And then we'll be starting up here in season, the fantasy football game plan. The other thing I put in, probably the most work I put in this year, has been the ADP, the Average Dudes podcast. It's honestly, it's the perfect name, because if you miss out on a player, or you kind of have you have a great episode and then your episode's not so great. It's like, all right, well, if we were great all the time, we wouldn't be average. So it's kind of like the greatest name to have, because you can always set the bar for the proper expectations for you. But honestly, the ADP has been a lot of fun. Myself, my co-host Matt Mormon, we've been putting out a lot of shows. Tonight, we have been knocking out all of our positional previews. They're going to be out tomorrow, which would be the 31st of August. So again, don't know when this is coming
It'll
out.
be out the day before, because I think you're the fourth one.
Okay.
I have it written right here. You are coming out September 2nd. So
okay. So by that point, all the positional previews will already be out, but we've been knocking all those out, and it's a lot of fun. We've been discussing fantasy football since we met in college. So there's just a lot of chemistry there. So the ADP has been a lot of fun. And you can find us at ADP Dudes, or you can find the YouTube page just by searching the same thing, ADP Dudes. The YouTube page is at Average Dudes Podcast with the @ symbol. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
What's your Twitter handle?
So my personal one is Tanner Ward 7, at Tanner Ward 7, and then again ADP Dudes.
Okay.
Will be the show.
Let's talk some real life fantasy football, or not real life football, I should say. What is your real life favorite team? And give me a favorite player, current and all time.
So you can see the hat.
Fan?
I am a Green Bay Packer fan. Yeah, so it's I grew up in Southeast Missouri. So I was around during the Greatest Show on Turf. My dad was a big Rams fan. I always have a special place in my heart for the Rams. But when I was a kid, I watched Brett Favre play football, and I immediately fell in love with the green and gold. Been a Packers fan ever since. And then I just so happened to meet my wife, who's from Wisconsin. We ended up moving to Green Bay, and so it's kind of a nice fit for me now, being here, and it's just been very nice. But yeah, Brett Favre is my all-time favorite player nowadays. I think it's just because I play so much fantasy and cover fantasy football. I don't necessarily have. Yeah, I don't really have favorite players. I really enjoy AJ Dillon because his connection with Door County, which is such a special place up here. It's really cool. He's kind of really fit into the community. If I had to go buy a jersey right now, I'd be buying Lucas Van Ness or Rashawn Gary. I've been a Rashawn Gary guy his entire career. And when I played football in high school, I was an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, so I always like one of those sides. But right now, Josh Nijman and Zach Tom, I just love those guys as well. So always got to give some love to the O-line.
It's not just you, though. I found, I'm from Canada, so hockey's my first love, Red Wings fan. And then baseball was my second. Football was always my third. But I found between retirements and fantasy, and then lately it's like, when I was a Red Wings fan, all the guys, they were on their team from when they were drafted till they were retired. Now you don't. It's roulette. So I find in the NFL, I don't, like Drew Brees retired. I guess I would probably say mine are Kamara and Michael Thomas. I'm a Saints fan, but between that, I've kind of completely separated myself for fantasy football. And I find it's like, I don't have one set favorite player anymore since Brees retired. So you're right. At some point, I think, and I said this is why I stopped playing fantasy hockey, because I love the Red Wings and that's all I wanted. And I found that being a fantasy hockey diehard was killing my love for just the Wings. And I'd have games where it's like, oh, well, the Wings are on, but my fantasy team has 3 guys on the Kings tonight. So it's like, well, what the fuck am I doing? I was at a live game and I was cheering on, the Wings were out of it. They were shit at this point, but I was cheering on the Dallas Stars because I had 2 players for fantasy. And my brother-in-law goes, the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, so, and that's when I realized I can't do fantasy in that sport. But I don't have a true favorite football team. Like I grew up a Lions fan being across from Detroit. Barry Sanders retired. They sucked. Matt Millen killed the city. And then I kind of became a Saints fan, but I don't have a true team to myself. So I find that's easier, but I can't do fantasy for baseball or baseball or hockey. It ruins my Tigers. It ruins my Red Wings. Football, it's all fantasy. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
do you have a for this year? I need one must have and one must avoid player for you.
So I actually have 2 for each because I couldn't decide between them. But my must-haves, the 2 that I'm hyper targeting the
Don't
most.
disappoint me, Tanner. I've had 3 on before you, 3 of our other co-hosts, and I should have vetted and drug tested these people because all 3 of them have named players that I fucking hate. Please don't disappoint me, Tanner. I'm gonna go need a drink myself in a second if you say Calvin Ridley or Alex Madison.
No, we just did our running back preview where Madison is on my
Well, you're a Packers fan,
my
so
burn notice list.
thank you. Good God. Sorry, go ahead.
He gives me Mike Davis vibes.
Oh, thank God. Yes, the voice of reason has arrived. He is fucking Mike Davis 2.0. Story, go ahead. I've had so many where you're good. Go ahead.
Good.
Go ahead.
You're good. All right. So I am hyper targeting Zach Charbonnet, and I have been for the last, I don't know, 2 months now in the drafts. I love where he's going. He's the one guy that I think can really overtake his backfield and just be a real league winner for you. So Zach Charbonnet is a guy I've been drafting an absolute ton of. I actually got a little pissed because the last 2 drafts I've done literally sniped on me, pick right before I had him queued up to go. The other one is Jahan Dotson. I've been pretty much off Terry McLaurin even before the turf toe happened. But I have been very wide receiver heavy early in drafts. I'm very hero or zero RB. So I'm getting Dotson as like my wide receiver 4. So
He's
I have like
starting to get up there.
He's starting to creep up. I just got him. Now, granted, it was a work league draft, so there was some value that fell. But I got him on the 8-9 turn.
I just missed him I was planning in the league winners one we're doing, the 10-teamer.
Yeah.
I was planning on taking him, and I think it was the 8th round. He didn't get back to me. Someone took him on the 7-8 turn, but you redeemed yourself with that because I love me some Dotson. I'm a Michigan man though, so I hate Zach Charbonnet. But John Dotson made up for it though. I'm all aboard. I was just telling SC that I am the Sam Howell, Jahan Dotson guy, but it went from where I was getting him in the mid to late 80s to where he looks like he's going, low 70s now. So I've been missing out a little bit.
Yeah, he is starting to climb. I think a lot of it has to do with the McLaurin turf toe.
Yeah.
I remember when that cost Devontae Adams 4 games.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone said a game or 2. Like this could cost him 6 weeks.
Dude, that turf toe, you can't play. Yeah, until it's fully healed. That's one of the worst things for a receiver.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a nagging injury. So yes, but I love Jahan Dotson. So those are the 2 I'm hyper targeting the most right now that I don't feel like are, I never like in these things to pick like top 20 players the position. So I always look beyond that when I'm picking out players like this.
Who are you avoiding?
I am avoiding Rachaad White and Dameon Pierce. I have been banging the drum against Rachaad White all year. He is, excuse me. We just did, I said the running back preview for the ADP. He was on my burn notice list. Actually, both these guys are, because we did instead of doing a sleeper breakout bust, we did most wanted and then burn notice guys that if you draft them, they're going to burn you. For me, it's Rachaad White. I just think he was so inefficient as a runner last year. The offense got even worse. The offensive line is still bad. I think he needs every bit of 60 plus targets just to be a fringe RB2. And I just don't know if he's going to get that. We have seen Baker target running backs, but I just don't believe in Rachaad White. I think he is at very best, his best case scenario, he is a poor man's Najee Harris.
I don't disagree with anything you said. I think, Rachaad White's not all that efficient. Dameon Pierce doesn't catch really any passes. At the same time, I'm not out on them, and I have probably a higher share of both of them, not because they're players I want, but because on the ones where I miss out and I get on the wrong end of a running back run, they seem to be them and James Cook always, even James Conner seem to be the guys where it's just like, well, I've missed out on everyone else. These guys have fallen into the 80s. Fuck it, I'll take one of them. And I'm just hoping they can, like you said, I'm hoping they can be a low end RB2 because I don't care. I'm getting them in the 6th, 7th, and 8th round as a break glass in case of emergency running back. So I'm not in on them. I'm just taking them as an emergency back where I've where I've missed or gone hero RB.
So for me, when I finished my projections out, I actually had Devin Singletary getting enough work where Dameon Pierce ended up for me having the same stats in 23 as he did in 22. The only problem is he only played 13 games last year. And I basically had him with the same stats over 17. So at that point, it's like I'm completely out. The other reason I'm completely out on him is I just love the value that's going behind him with guys like Javonte Williams, James Cook, David Montgomery, and of course, Zach Charbonnet that I already mentioned. I'll just load up on a couple of those guys, and I never have to worry about Dameon Pierce on my roster.
See, I have a lot of James Cook, like I said. I don't like Zach Charbonnet, so I've avoided him. Javonte, I really like, but I find Javonte in a lot of the drafts I've done is gone well before this group. If he were holding where he's supposed to be in ADP, if he's available, I'm taking Javonte. I just find since we've had word where it looks like he could be ready for week 1 or 2, he's gone 2-3 rounds before this. Was there a fourth back you named in that group, or was it just those 3?
It was just them.
Yeah, so I find, like I said, I James Cook would be my preference. Javonte by far, I just don't find he never gets to me. So, got a bold prediction?
You said 2 or 3, so I got 3 here. Okay. I don't know how bold they are. I think the first one's pretty bold. You can let me know if they're really spicy or if they're just kind of mild takes. But I do believe, I think in one good bold prediction, we're going to have 3 rookie tight ends finish top 10 at the position this year. I think we see Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta, and Luke Musgrave all top 10 tight ends.
My choices would be Mayer, Laporta, and either Kincaid or Musgrave. I think it's definitely possible. What's going to have to happen is there's going to have to be some injuries, and a couple of the guys teetering on the age cliff are going to have to fall off the cliff. So I'm looking at Darren Waller, George Kittle. And I think this is entirely plausible because outside, so the top 7 I think are pretty set. I like Freiermuth, but that offense, you never know. Where it gets to me, where the ones I definitely think, so if you have 1 or 2 of the top 7 or 8 guys drop out, it opens it up. But then where they could also make room is the 8, 9, 10 group of Engram and Njoku. I forget there's another one in there. I'm not really sold on either of them. So do I think it's likely? I would say 2 would probably be safer, or 3 in the top 12. I could see it though.
It wouldn't be bold if it was 3 in the top 12, right? It's got to be 3 in the top 10. Yeah. But honestly, we haven't seen Darren Waller stay healthy since his breakout campaign. Dallas Goedert is clearly the third man on that Eagles offense. He was very efficient with his targets, but all it takes is for him to not be as efficient with them, and all of a sudden he is just your Pat Freiermuth without the touchdowns.
Who did the Eagles sign yesterday or trade for? They acquired someone too. Yeah, okay. So in that, I remember thinking, okay, well, it's not a huge downgrade to Goddard, but it's not going to help him. It's not a good thing.
I like how the Eagles are just like, well, you think this player that at one point we all thought was good, and now you think they're trash. We'll just take them for cheap.
Yeah,
I like how they do that.
I don't necessarily. It doesn't kill Goddard, but it's not going to help him. So he could be someone who slips. And if you look at him, he was one I never realized. I always thought he was a value. When I look, he's going as what, tight end 7? I don't think he's ever finished as a tight end 7. He finishes lower.
Last year, I was all over Goddard. He was my guy to target. This year, I want nothing to do with him. Kittle was the odd man out last year when Ayuk and Debo were both healthy, and he had just insane amount of touchdowns. His touchdown rate was insane. So there's a lot of regression coming there. Njoku, I don't know what that offense is going to look like. I have this season said a lot. I kind of believe in this Cleveland offense. I think the passing game is going to be there. But also, we just really don't know how this target share is going to look like. So Njoku, I think there's a question mark. I like Dalton Schultz, but also that offense could be really bad in Houston. Pat Freiermuth needs touchdowns to be a top 10 tight end. Evan Ingram, I think, could end up being the odd man out in Jacksonville. There's a lot more mouths to feed there. And then Greg Dulcich in Denver. We don't know if Denver's going to be good again or not. They could just be Denver, what they were last year.
No. I'm a Saints fan. Sean Payton fucking loves Adam Troutman.
He
That's
does,
scary,
but he never. I mean, I was a Troutman shareholder in Dynasty a long time.
yeah, and he did nothing.
Did nothing, right? So I don't know if he's going to take away routes ran by Dulcich, but there's also a chance this offense isn't very good.
So I brought up my sleeper. I brought up my sleeper and found my Dallas Goedert stat. For a guy who's going as tight end 7 and everyone thinks it's, he's safe and it's a relative value. Do you know what his his full PPR finishes are for tight ends in his career? For the tight end 7, he's tight end 21, 10, 21, 11, 12. He's never finished higher than 10 in PPR or half PPR.
Now, is that full season?
Full season.
Okay. I feel like last year he would have been in points per game. But would have been top 10, but
he was 12th last year and he played 12 games. The year he played the most games, he played 16 games. He was only tight end 10, missing one game. So that was his best season where he missed one game.
Yeah, so I definitely think there's a path to see these rookies. I don't think it's going to be Mayer this year. I definitely think Laporta and Kincaid will definitely find a path, because the biggest thing, it doesn't take that much to be a top 10 tight end, right? And then I just think we just don't know what we're going to see from this Packers offense. Musgrave is going to be a matchup problem, especially if Dobbs, Watson, and Reed are all on the field. I just think there is a path for him, and it doesn't have to be anything special, but if he can get to 600 yards, he can be a top 10 tight end.
All right, we got 2.5, 3 minutes. We got to do your last two rapid fire here. What do you got?
So I have Tua is going to be a top 5 quarterback in points per game this year. He is definitely a quarterback I've been hyper targeting at that position.
If he stays healthy, that's completely plausible.
Yep. And then
the only thing that worries me is, will they protect him? I know I said rapid fire, but I don't shut up. Will they protect him and limit his rushing? That scares me. But I guess with Tyreek and Waddle, it doesn't matter. He can pass for a bajillion yards. So
yeah. Lastly, there is going to be 8 second-year wide receivers that are going to make the top 30 in points per game. And that list is the first 6, I think, are pretty obvious: Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London, Christian Watson, Jahan Dotson, Treylon Burks. But then my last 2 are Sky Moore and Romeo Dobbs. Yep. Okay. I think 2 Packers make it in the top 30. That's not a homer pick. That is just,
I love Sky Moore too.
I think this offense, we don't know what's going to come from it. I think a lot of people are sleeping on it. I'm a big Sky Moore guy. And if you are a George Pickens believer, which I'm really not, but if you are and you want to make the case for him, then you can say there's 9 that can make the top 30.
That's a lot. It should be interesting. I guess that's why they say by year 2, 3 wide receivers. So
yeah.
All right. Well, that is a wrap on our introduction of my new co-host, Tanner Ward. This has been the Fantasy Football Game Plan intro episodes. Once again, I'm Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist. Thank you, Tanner, for coming on, and thank you for joining the team here. It's great to have you. Excited to move forward with this, with everyone on board.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be hectic. I've got a lot of things to do and try and balance here, so we'll see how good I am at this. But you want to tune in for our first live show. Like I said, we're releasing one of these intros all week long, leading right into our first live show Wednesday night, September 6th, the night before Thursday night kickoff. Tentatively scheduled for 8 p.m. Eastern, and we will be doing a week 1 preview with a good portion of the cast. So I'm sure everyone wants in on the first episode. So there may be 8 of us, and it may be absolute total fucking chaos. So join us live. Tune in for the rest of these all week long, and then join us live Wednesday night. This has been the Fantasy Football Game Plan. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Take care and have a great night.